G'day guys, welcome to episode... I never fuck up. 100 episodes, I think I've done that once. That's the second time. G'day guys, welcome to Ask Jack. Today we are taking episode 100 live from our Entrepreneur Development Centre here in Sydney with 150 of the craziest, most entrepreneurial, amazing human beings you will ever meet, our Scale and Sable members. Round of applause for you guys. We've actually got to keep that blooper. I want this episode to start with that blooper. That will be fucking funny.
28 and I'm trying to shape history. Pulling from the sky for some strength to take with me. Line up the stars, fly away quickly and push the world forward like a tidal wave hit me. I ride the wave swiftly, I fear no man.
Alrighty, episode 100. What we're going to do is we're going to take about 2 or 3 questions depending on how long I speak for. And in doing so, we'll be able to have some really good conversations with everybody in the room. Brian, we're going to start with you.
Thanks, Jack. My question is about venture capital or raising.
Yes.
Well, I think it's your forte. The world is changing in crowdfunding. So the Americans just recently, a few months ago, changed their laws in regards to funding and their restrictions on crowdfunding. So my question is, Malcolm Turnbull, I think, is going to do that as well here in the next couple of months. Maybe I think it's next month.
Yeah.
My question is, how will that affect the venture capital world or the vulture capital world? And will it actually improve our chances of getting everyone here funding?
Talk to us about the regulations around crowdfunding.
Restrictions on how much people can put in, laws on how much you could lose.
And so those regulations are going to tighten or loosen?
In America, it's already done. It's loose.
It's already loosened.
All
on
done.
the crowdfunding perspective.
Crowdfunding,
Yeah.
It's already done.
And by crowdfunding, we mean pre-sales as opposed to an equity platform, don't
Correct.
we? Yeah, cool. Okay. So my view is this. Firstly, in Australia, VC is hard, right? And it's not impossible. Through MBE, we helped our clients raise hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Raise hundreds of millions of dollars, transact in buying businesses and selling businesses. Transactions, we did, about $350 million across a four-year period. It's doable. The challenge that early stage entrepreneurs face is that VCs, particularly in Australia, and sorry, no disrespect, well, not really, but is that we have a VC industry that still wants to look at startup stage businesses and early stage businesses through a traditional lens. And what I mean by that is when a business starts, everybody in this room knows better than any, this is what a business tends to do. It tends to do this, then it tends to do this for a very long time. And then one day it will hopefully do that, right? But people tend to think, people who aren't familiar with business tend to think that the growth curve is linear. The growth curve is never linear. In like a personal life, in personal growth, in business, in startup, it's never linear, right? It's usually something like that, or even a more accurate thing would be like that, right? And the problem that early stage businesses face with VC in Australia is you go to them and let's say you're here, right? And let's say you've even been, you've been profit positive or EBIT positive for a couple of years. By virtue of the stage of business you're at, your current EBIT, your current profit is not a true representation of the value of this business, right? If you get a mature business, and they've gone through all of that, and then these days their growth is kind of like that, then you kind of go, what's their profit this year? And then we might multiply that by 5 or 6 or 8, depending on how good a shape the business is in. And so, EBIT and profit can be a relatively good valuation determinant because there's consistency. When your growth curve, when you're here, and they're going, show me your profit, it's like, well, hold on a second. Your businesses should probably not right now be run to maximize profit. We haven't been running this business for the last 2 to 3 years to be able to demonstrate a profit, and you want to value our business on a multiple of profits. I understand that should be one consideration and one driver, but let's not have that underpin the conversation. Let's talk about all of the assets we've built, some of which might be intangible, like brand and relationship with audience, which is often what early stage businesses do better than big businesses. Let's talk about future growth potential and why we're confident and the rationale and the substance behind what we think our future growth potential is. And then let's factor all of that into the valuation. So when you're an early stage business, you need to get really good at selling the future. And if we do our job properly, which everybody in this room does, then selling the future should be pretty easy, right? However, if you're up against a traditional investor and all he knows how to do is look at your EBIT and times it by 6, then you're going to be in trouble because your EBIT might be 0, but so should it be. As an investor myself who understands early stage businesses, I don't want to see a business at 4 years old doing $1.5 million profit, right? Because I'll be going, why the fuck are you taking, like, why are you maximising? Why are we not investing in the infrastructure and the people and the systems and the marketing and the brand and the team required to build a really great infrastructure and a foundation so that we can build a significant sized business, right? So that is my challenge with a lot of VC in Australia. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of firms that go against, like, that do it beautifully. People like Blackbird, that Scott Farquhar's involved in, are really good. People like StartMate are really good. But when you start talking traditional VC, the Australian VC firm needs to catch up with what early stage business is and needs. And the game is different, right? Crowdfunding is really, really, really good. And there's 3 reasons for it. I'll give them to you in order. The first thing is you can put up your product. So is Shane in this room?
Yeah, he's
okay, there we go. Shane, talk to us 30 seconds, man. Talk to us about your journey so far with CordRoll, of which I'm waiting for mine to arrive.
I saw your order come through. Thanks.
No worries.
Yeah, it's a wild ride. It is. Can I swear? It's fucking hard.
You didn't just ask that question, did you?
But it's a really good way to test the product or the product to market fit after you've got a fairly good idea that you've already got that, and then it's a good way to take that forward. But it's a wild ride. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's challenging. It's not like film a 30-second video on your iPhone and you 30 grand drops tomorrow. It's like anything else. It requires focus. If you look at Shane's page and his campaign, you can see how much effort went into that video. That video, did you produce that after it started to get traction? Because it seems like it's highly produced.
Yeah, I filmed a lot of it with my GoPro, surfing and whatnot, and then got a mate to cut it together.
So is that the initial video that you launched? Or
Correct.
It is? Okay, great. What a lot of people do is they might launch a video that's, costs $500, and then once it starts to take off and the crowdfunding platform, they've got sales of $5 grand or $8 grand or whatever it is, then they reshoot a better video, might cost them $2 grand to get it up because they're seeing that it's taking off, which is no different to traditional capital raising. Sometimes people raise money to go and do a proper capital raising. You know what I mean? Like they'll raise 500 grand so they can produce a prospectus and do all this sort of stuff and then go off and do a proper capital raising. So it mirrors it a lot. But the benefits are, number one, so firstly, let's give Shane a big round of applause for what he's achieved. It was after 6,000, he's now got 26,000.
11 hours fully funded, and this morning it was 500% funded, so just over 30 grand.
30 grand, over 30 grand. Very nice. Well done, mate. And the real reason I bought it was because I love the product. The second reason I bought it is because I want to monitor your customer journey experience, and here's why. The first thing that's good about crowdfunding is pre-sales, right? So you get cash through the door. The second thing is customer insight. The most honest customer insight we as entrepreneurs can get is what are people willing to give us their credit cards for, right? And I do, particularly earlier on, when I used to be involved in different startup stage businesses, was we used to do focus groups and Google Analytics and all of that sort of stuff from a consumer insight. So we still do that to a degree. However, what are people willing to pay for is the most honest consumer insight you will ever get. So that's the second benefit of crowdfunding, is you go, are people buying it or not? And then the third thing is audience capture. So how many people comprise your 30,000?
At the moment, it's about 415 that have actually purchased.
Yeah. So there you go. So Shane's now got 415 paid customers. And, the hardest 400 customers to get are your first 400 customers, right? So he can now test, his customer experience, his customer journey with them. He can test, can he cross-sell, can he upsell, can he do different things? So cash, customer insight, audience capture makes crowdfunding really, really effective for early stage businesses. right? The other thing with regards to VC is so you guys know we've set up the Entourage Growth Fund, right? Because I'm a person who understands early stage business. I understand entrepreneurs probably as well as anybody. And I really understand startup, growth, scale, all of that sort of stuff. So what we're doing through the Entourage Growth Fund is trying to bring a more, not educated, but a more insightful investment philosophy to early stage businesses in Australia.
Great.
Good question, Brian. Thanks, mate.
What we might do is go straight to Shane's question, then we'll go over to Bushy. So Shane,
Beautiful.
go straight to your question.
Strangely, perhaps not so much strangely, but there's been a few private messages come through about investing in the business, the company. So my question was, obviously I'm a startup and there's a whole bunch of stuff to focus on and not to focus on. What would be the number one thing that I should focus on now to make myself attractive for investors when it comes to that?
Yeah. So...
Is it IP? Is it ensuring that's locked down? Or is it the brand story, etc.?
Yeah. So that's a really interesting question because... And I sort of went through this thinking process when we were doing MBE because we used to talk about making companies investor ready. And there's absolutely an investor-ready process that businesses need to go through. However, if we want to talk about the number one thing you need to become investor-ready, build a great company, right? Don't build a company to get it ready for an investor. Build a great company, right? Build a great product that adds value to people's lives. Nail your message to market fit so that when you communicate, people hear it. Build a database and build a relationship with that database so that they love you, so that when you release your next product, they all buy it when you send out an email. Yeah. That's what you need to do to raise money. In terms of timing, go as far as you possibly can without raising equity capital, right? Because the further you go, the more proven your concept is, the more revenue we have, the more cash flow we have. Even if we don't have sales yet, the more audience we have, the larger the database, the larger the recognition. Even if we just have consumer insight, the more proven our concept is, the higher the valuation goes up. So if we've got a business that's valued at 100 grand and we want to raise 50, we're giving up 50% of our company. But if we can argue and defend a valuation of 500 grand and we want to raise 50, well, we're only giving up 10% of our organisation, right? So the further you can go, the more you can build a robust proof of concept, the higher you can drive the valuation. Obviously, the less you're going to dilute in terms of equity. So I'd need to have a think about your particular business and understand, because I know you're getting it manufactured overseas, so there's a lot of mechanics to take into consideration. So raising money for you might make sense soon. Any good investor, IP is one consideration. That's pretty much the main one. IP, relationship manufacturers, reliability. There's almost like a compliance side of capital raising, right? But that's not what people invest into. People invest into, anyone worth their salt, invest into great people and great businesses. So, mate, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well done, Shane. Round of applause for Shane, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Beautiful. What's your name?
Yeah, Bushy Martin from Know-How.
Bushy Martin. Let's give Bushy some love. 3, 2, 1. Now, I'm going to answer your question, then I'm going to have a fourth question. I want a female to answer the fourth question, because we just had 3 blokes, right? Yeah, we'll come down here for the fourth question, then we'll wrap. Bushy, over to you.
Okay, Jack. We're in a service-based business, and it's a very good business, but it's reliant totally on us.
Yes.
What I'd really like some insight in is the journey that you've been through that's enabled you to go from one to many and to not have to be the business. Our business is reliant very much on myself, and I'm certainly working hard to grow a team that I can clone, that removes myself so I can work more on than in.
Yeah.
But be very interested in the journey that you've been through and the key things that you focused on day to day that's actually enabled you to grow such a fantastic team in your own right.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Okay, it's definitely 100% doable. And the fact that it's challenging and the fact that other people haven't done it well, like systemizing and bottling the magic of service-based businesses, only to me represents opportunity, right? if I talk about Entourage, for instance, I reckon one of the things that, so firstly, what makes any company great is its people, right? That's it, full stop. In order to get the best people, in order to engage great people, in order to inspire and ensure that great people are engaged and are working in alignment with their own purpose, you need to really understand who you are as an organisation, right? If there was one thing I think that we've done well with the Entourage which differentiates us perhaps from other education institutions, it's our ability to take what is usually unspoken and put language around it. It's our ability to take what is usually not articulated and articulate it, right? That starts in the early days with vision, mission, values, right? Why are we doing what we do? What's the contribution-centric purpose for us existing in vision? Mission, who are we trying to become? What's the ultimate goal that our company is trying, who do we want to be in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years? And then values, who are we and who must we be along the journey? And let's bottle some principles that govern and guide who we hire, who we fire, who we promote, who we demote, who we move sideways, how we engage with one another, how we talk to one another, how we hold each other up. Right? These are all things that people can come into organisations like the Entourage and go, oh, there's this magic feel in here. And there is a magic feel in here. But my entire team at the back will tell you, it doesn't happen by accident. Right? It's about understanding that everything is figure-outable. Right? I truly believe you can bottle magic. Right? I truly believe you can take essence and you can take spirit and you can take soul, you take culture, you take inspiration, and you can fucking bottle it so that you can do it over and over and over again. Right? That's the hardest part. What service do you do, Bushy?
Yeah, it's property and finance.
Yeah, great. So the hardest part is not systemizing what we do. Relative to everything I just discussed, that's a walk in the park, right? So if you can get good at all of this, and even go back and watch the first 3 days that we spent together on vision, mission, values, particularly where you're at now, start to bottle that. Because if you can bottle that, you can bottle anything. And then it just becomes about, the boring stuff of writing the systems of how to release a property and how to do this and where to, ensuring all of the mechanical stuff is there so that everybody knows how to do their job. But it's about taking what most would deem to be intangible and going, well, hold on a second, I reckon we can actually make that really tangible. It's so doable, so doable. And it's crazy to me that more businesses don't look at this sort of stuff. Culture is still considered a black art in most business, particularly corporate and stuff. They just don't get it. And that baffles me because it's like, well, aren't you a human being? Yeah, okay, cool. And the people that work with you, are they human beings too? Yeah, okay, cool. So you guys get how we feel and how we operate and what we need to be engaged and how we want to interact. It's almost like the way to bottle culture and the way to bottle the service-based business is unlearn all of the academic and corporate bullshit that you've ever learned about human beings, get back to what's real and authentic, and just do that. And make sure you write it down so that you're bottling it as you go. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Thanks.
Good. Thanks, mate. Round of applause for Bushy. Okay. Hey.
Hello.
How are ya?
Is this on? Yes.
Yes.
Hi. So I actually have a fun question.
God.
One of the reasons that I went into business was so that I could have a jet ski.
Yes.
And so what I want to know is what toy goals have you had or do you have?
Oh, Jesus.
And which one is your favourite?
My answer isn't going to be fun. I'll try and make my answer as fun as possible. Honestly, Katie already knows what I'm about to say. The toy that I've wanted most for the last ever since I got to Sydney and moved away from Melbourne, was a puppy. Is that fun? Okay, cool. I thought it was going to be all deep. But I just wanted a fucking dog, right? And the house that I lived in previously, I moved house, I don't know, a month or two ago, and it was too many places for puppies to fall down floors, and that's never a good look. So I told you it wasn't going to be fun. Whereas I moved into a place now where it is puppy-ish, friendly-ish. So that, like, the day we picked up Bear and then having Bear for the last, 6 to 8 weeks has been, like, just better than any car or, anyhow, because that's actually not what matters, right? And I stalled when you asked the question because I don't have any toy goals today. None. There is nothing in a materialistic sense that I want that I don't have. And I don't have boats, I don't have, because it's not about that for me, right? And I think that's the point, right? In the early days, in startup days of business, we have zero money. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think it was Rosie. I was during another Ask Jack. We're talking about how during my first business, like, we just lost money for 3 years, right? And did it really well. Like, really well. And then in my second business, I did something similar. And so what I would have to do, no money. Like, if I got $20, I would feel rich for a fortnight. No money. So I would get up, living with Mum, get up every day, walk down to the tram station, get a tram illegally into the city. We'd hustle and do our thing every day. Wouldn't have lunch because I didn't have any money to buy lunch. Get on a tram, come back illegally, go home, and Mum would have dinner, right? So I was lucky in that when I started in business, I still had a roof over my head. And had I not have been living with my mum at that point, I would have got a part-time job, 3 or 4 hours a day, that would have paid for rent and dinner and nothing else. That was it. So I could spend another 10 hours a day hustling and building me and building business and all of that sort of stuff. What happens during those days is lack breeds obsession. Lack breeds obsession. If you feel like you have a lack around, often we do, if there is a lack around finances in the early stage of business, we will start to think that is why we came into the game, right? If you feel that you've ever had a lack of love in your life, you'll be obsessed about love. If you ever feel like you had a lack of relationship with your mother, you'll be obsessed about improving your relationship. Like, it might drive you for your whole life. Right? Lack breeds obsession. What is really important for us to remember, and by the way, obsessing about money in the early days is not such a bad thing because it fucking drives you and you need it. You need all the drive. You need to pull it from wherever you can. But you'll get to a point, we all get to a point where we realise that the pursuit of finance is empty at best and hollow at worst, particularly when achieved. Right, and that's interesting. Particularly when achieved. Because you'll get to a point, you make a lot of money, and you'll go, fuck. This thing that I thought was driving me for the last 6, 7, 8 years actually wasn't. What is my life actually about if it's not about that, right? One thing I often say is I went in search of money and I found meaning. And I think that's what great entrepreneurship is built on, is people who understand you need the cash, you need to be commercial, you need to drive revenue, you need to play that game. But the driver shouldn't be the toys. The driver should be who you're becoming, the lives that you're touching, the people you're enabling to do great work, the impact that you might one day make, right? And if you're coming from that space, you'll make a shitload of money and you won't even care, because all money is fuel for the engine to help drive progress, help the vision travel further. Yeah. I do want a kayak though. Yeah. But we went to a kayak store the other day, and they're like these world-class kayaks, right? They're like, I don't know how much they cost, but way too. I'm like, dude, I don't need one of them. I'm going to go get a plastic, shitty little kayak so that we can go kayak. I'll get 2 of them. That's my next toy. Okay, thank you very much. Does that answer your question? Guys, thank you so much. It was, as always, incredibly enjoyable hanging out with you and funny. Thank you for being a part of episode 100 of Ask Jack D, ladies and gentlemen.
Quickly and push the world forward like a tidal wave hit me. I ride the wave swiftly, I fear no man. Check my titles, mate, quickly.